Good morning, it's the 30th of July 2023 and my bike tour around Iceland continues. I'm in the Westfjords area of Iceland and last night I stayed wild camping at Dynjandi Waterfalls. Today my route is going to take me up here, through a tunnel and onto a place called Þingeyri. There is another route available which goes around the peninsula, but I'm going to take this one because this route sounded like it was very hard work and I've got a heavy bike and I'm on holiday. So I'm going to cycle through the tunnel. So later on in this video, if you're interested to see what cycling in a tunnel in Iceland is like, you can check that out. But for now, I'm going to give you some quick shots of the waterfall and then some clips and commentary from the road. Speak in a bit. Cheers! So now leaving Dynjandi Waterfalls that was supposed to be, or was just cycling uphill a little bit.
Follow this way for 750 meters.
And heading to the town of Þingeyri. There's two routes. One is a very, very rough road which takes me around the peninsula, which will be 50 kilometers. And one goes over the mountains, and that's about 28 kilometers, but of course another 500 meters of total ascent. So I'm going to take that route. I met another cyclist, he's going to take the coastal route, so I'd be kind of interested to see how long it takes him and what he thought to the route. It's a clear day, not so much wind at the moment. Here we go. The road at the moment is sealed, which I wasn't really expecting. I'm not sure if it's sealed all the way to my destination or not, but it would make the going a little bit easier. The alternate road that the other cyclist is taking isn't sealed, and legend has it that a farmer asked the Icelandic government to build a road around the peninsula. They said no, and he said, oh, I'm going to do it anyway, and then I guess spent several months in his tractor digging out a path. So it's an interesting story behind it. Up in front of me you can probably see some of the mountains have still got snow on. Probably the sun doesn't get to some of these snow spots. And if it's not melted by what is now the 29th, I think, of July, no, 30th of July, then it's probably not going to melt this year. I'm using Komoot to navigate with, and I was expecting rather a steep rise there, but it looks like that this tarmac road that I'm on is probably new. I don't know, maybe the last couple of years, and what it's done is take out about 250 meters of ascent. So when I looked at Google Maps, it said I had a total of about 200 meters today. When I looked at Komoot, it said about 560. So it looks like Google's right, probably. But we'll see how the rest of the road carries on, unless of course I've taken a wrong turn somewhere, which isn't unlikely, but I don't think so. Anyway, this has been quite handy, getting rid of one steep rise out of the day we were misses. I'm not sure, but it looks like I might have a tunnel to go through. So I'm kind of hoping that my bike lights are charged enough. If not, I'm going to have to wait to charge them or make the decision to go around the peninsula. Obviously my backlight wasn't charged, but I've plugged it into the power bank. I think it's working. Front light's working. So this should be about 2 kilometers long, and it's something I've got to get used to because I've got a huge tunnel later in a couple of days time to go through, which is about 9 kilometers. So I guess I might as well get used to cycling through tunnels if possible. Some signposts ahead, no people on horses. Doesn't say nobody on bicycles, so I guess we're okay. Here we go. The tunnel might be 5.6 kilometers long. Right. Here we go. I read the 2020, the year it was made, as the distance. Schoolboy error, that one. So I think this tunnel is probably going to be slightly uphill for a lot of the way. Anyway, there's only one way to get this done, and that's to do it.
The GPS signal is weak. Directions might be delayed.
So the tunnel's pretty well lit. It's just when you enter it and exit it, I guess there's that difference between light and dark, which will confuse drivers. But it should be okay now. It's a bit of a pavement if I need to pull over. I can hear a car coming probably from the front. I've got my lights working front and back, so that's as much as I can do. There's actually a little raised bit on the right hand side. I don't know if you can see this. So it's a bit slower cycling, but I'm going to go on that. So the pathway's worked out okay so far. The only thing is with it is that cars are not going to pull over as much to give me room. And then I'll get the like the wind tunnel effect, which is a bit annoying. But there's not been that much traffic. I guess I'm about halfway now. The air's pretty good actually. There must be pretty good ventilation blowing through. And it gets a bit echoey when cars approach. But all in all, not bad. Bike path well, if it is a bike path, gets a bit narrow in places. But I think my eyes have got adjusted to the lower light now, more or less. Just see a car approaching from the front. Most of them are going pretty sensibly, apart from a bus that went past me about 5 minutes ago. Guy's probably wondering what a Malacca's doing in the tunnel on the bicycle. It's a pretty good question. See that those two cars that came behind me, they were going pretty slow, but they didn't pull over any. So I guess pluses and minuses of using this path, but I feel relatively safer on it. So right now we could say that it's peak season for travelling in Iceland. This is not too busy at all. So I imagine in June, although the weather might be worse, you probably wouldn't even see a vehicle come through this tunnel. Of course, I could just be talking out my backside. Three kilometres down, 2 to go. And feels like I'm going downhill now. Which means a little bit less pedalling, which is good. Although I'm not really going to get any speed up. You can see, maybe you can see, the path gets quite narrow in places. Or at least narrow enough if you've got 2 panniers and a rack pack on. I can hear something coming behind me. I think I need to step to one side. And just nearing the end of the tunnel. So not too bad, there wasn't that much traffic. And if you're another cyclist reading this, if you're thinking to come through, just keep in mind it's the buses that are the most inconsiderate ones, or at least from my small experience. So I think that's all the tunnels there are now between me and my destination. And it should be relatively flat cycling now.
Follow this way for 4.7 kilometers.
There we go. So about 6 or 7 kilometers away from Þingeyri, and I'm going to stay here for a couple of nights. The reason being, I've been cycling for, I don't know, 12, 13 days now without a day off. I've had some short days, but I think I've earned a day off, and then I could just spend the day doing laundry, eating and chilling out. That's if the campsite's any good, of course. If it's not any good, I'll just be here for the one night and I'll move on tomorrow.